Her phone lit up on the counter while I was already thinking about the wedding vendor deadlines. One line, clean punctuation, like it had every right to be there. She watched my face, waiting for the scene, rage, pleading, bargaining, anything she could steer. I gave her none. Because betrayal isn't just what happens in secret, it's what gets done to your life, contracts, money, access, reputation. So I didn't chase a confession, I chased the structure. And by the time she realized what I'd locked down, there wasn't a wedding left to save. The notification didn't arrive with fireworks. No pet names, no messy spelling, no miss you that could be brushed off as a coworker being familiar. It was just a sentence that sounded rehearsed. Last night was great. Let's do it again tomorrow. I saw it because I was already awake, standing barefoot in our apartment kitchen, the kind of early light that turns everything gray and honest. My mind was on seating charts and final payments and the timeline I'd memorized like a work schedule. We were engaged, 6 weeks out. Our living room looked like a planning office, swatches, envelopes, a binder thick enough to stop a door. Her phone sat near the fruit bowl, face up, like she wasn't afraid of consequences. She walked in behind me, hair pinned up, wearing the hoodie she kept stealing because she liked the idea of us being shared property. She saw the screen, she saw my eyes on it, and then she paused. Not shocked, not confused. A pause like she was waiting for me to play my part. I didn't. I set the mug down softly. I turned the burner off. I nudged her phone back to the angle it had been at before the screen lit up. Then I looked at her and asked, evenly, "Coffee?" Her gaze moved over my face like she was scanning for heat, anger, hurt, panic, begging, something she could grab and drag into a fight. "Yeah," she said too fast. "Sure." I poured coffee like I hadn't just watched the floor shift. I slid it across the counter. She held the cup with both hands and stared into it like steam could erase text. "I've got an early call," she said. "I'm going to shower." "Okay," I said. She disappeared down the hall and closed the bathroom door hard enough to sound like a decision. That was the first point where a different version of me would have chased her. I could have demanded the phone, demanded an explanation, demanded the truth wrapped in tears and denial and the kind of language that makes you question your own eyes. But I've learned something about people who hide. When you confront too early, you don't get truth, you get a performance. So I didn't chase a confession. I switched into protection mode. I took one clean photo of the notification with the timestamp visible. Then I sent it to an old email account tied to my work, boring, private, something she never touched. I copied it again onto a small drive I kept in the back of my desk drawer. Not for revenge, not for spectacle, for reality. Because when someone gets caught, the first thing they delete is evidence. The second thing they rewrite is your memory. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the wedding spreadsheet, the one we'd been calling our plan, even though it was my card, my signatures, and my responsibility holding the whole thing up. I scanned it with a new kind of attention. Not romantic attention, not hopeful attention, risk attention. Venue deposit timeline, catering minimum, band cancellation window, photographer deposit, hotel room block deadlines, honeymoon flights, registry shipments, the little commitments that become anchors when the relationship fails. I didn't let myself think about how long it had been going on. I thought about exposure. I started with the venue because it was the biggest cliff. I didn't call and say, "My fiancé is cheating." I called and said, "We need to move the date due to a family issue," which wasn't exactly a lie. My family issue had just been revealed as me marrying the wrong person. The venue manager was professional, careful, practiced. She offered alternate dates. She asked if everything was okay. I answered with simple sentences and no pauses. "I need a hold," I said. "Temporary, 48 hours. No new charges until I confirm." She didn't love it, but she agreed to freeze the next payment pending a confirmation email. I got it in writing. I saved the email twice. I filed it under a folder labeled Event. Then I removed my card from every autopay tied to the wedding, because if someone is willing to hide one life, they're capable of wrecking another when they feel cornered. I didn't cancel everything at once. I paused what could be paused. I rescheduled what could be rescheduled. I used supply delay and schedule conflict and confirmation pending, not feelings, dates. I slowed the machine without making noise. Then I logged into the vendor portal where all the contracts lived and did the single most important technical move of the week. I changed the primary contact on everything to me. I restricted her access to view only. No alert, no pop-up, no warning. The system accepted it like I was simply being responsible. And that, by itself, was a lesson. Most of your life is permissions you don't think about until you need them. Her phone buzzed while I was doing it, her name calling me from the screen. I let it ring out, not because I was afraid of her voice, because I didn't want distraction. When your hands are steady, you can move faster than chaos. I moved the wedding savings into an account in my name, an old account I used for taxes and emergencies, one that existed long before her and didn't have her access. I didn't hide it. I didn't drain it into cash. I just moved it somewhere it couldn't be touched without my consent. Then I set alerts on everything, transfers, logins, changes, and I requested refunds by check wherever possible, because refunds that land in your hand don't get accidentally redirected later when someone decides to become heroic after the truth leaks. By the time she came out of the bathroom, hair damp, makeup half done, I was already on my third call. She stood in the doorway watching me like she didn't know if I was building a wall or a weapon. "What are you doing?" she asked lightly, like she didn't want the answer. "Confirming vendors," I said, "tightening details." She smiled, controlled, tight at the corners. "You're intense," she said. "I'm thorough," I corrected. She took a sip of coffee, eyes flicking toward her phone on the counter and away again. "I'll be late tonight," she said. "Work is a mess." "Text me when you're heading home," I replied, calm. "I've got calls today." She hesitated. That hesitation told me she could feel the room changing. People who rely on fog hate when the air clears. "I'm going to stop by the venue tomorrow for the tasting," she said carefully. "Send me the time," I said. Her eyebrows lifted. "They already have me down for noon." "Forward me the confirmation," I said. She didn't move. Her eyes narrowed. That was the first near catch, her noticing that the system was no longer loose. A normal person forwards the email. A person hiding something starts calculating what you know. "I'll do it later," she said, too quickly. "Sure," I replied. Then she left for work with her phone already in her hand, hair bowed like it was the only thing keeping her upright. The second the door shut, I built a timeline. Not a conspiracy wall, a clean, lawful list. Dates, times, transactions, calendar blocks, merchant names, receipts sent to the shared email we used for wedding confirmations, ride charges to the joint card, a repeating number on the phone bill that didn't appear in her visible contacts. Patterns don't require spyware, they require patience. Tuesday and Thursday evenings kept showing up, Friday lunches that were work meetings, a hotel charge tucked between normal expenses, the same time bands repeating like a drumbeat. I didn't call the number. Calling it would warn her. I ran a basic lookup that only returns carrier and region. It came back local, in the same metro area, a breadcrumb. Then I placed a small tripwire, a harmless change. I adjusted the rehearsal dinner reservation time by 30 minutes through the portal. Not enough to wreck anything, just enough to test whether she was monitoring the wedding ecosystem like a cover story. 2 hours later, she texted,
Did you change the rehearsal time?" I stared at the message and felt the last doubt evaporate. She wasn't just drifting, she was managing. That week, I didn't confront her. I let the pattern mature while I dismantled exposure. I converted the photographer deposit into a transferable credit, written confirmation that the contract holder was me. I released the hotel block. I paused the honeymoon flights inside the grace period. I redirected my direct deposit away from any account she could touch. I kept moving. Then I added 2 layers that weren't in the seed, but mattered for how this kind of story stays realistic. The first came from a vendor. The venue coordinator replied to my reschedule email and accidentally CC'd the catering lead. The catering lead hit reply all to confirm menus could be held and included a note about the tasting appointment. There was an attachment, a calendar invite. In the notes, tucked like it didn't matter, it listed an extra tasting guest as +1 with a comment, "Guest will help finalize selections." No name, no drama, just a quiet clue in plain text. I didn't react. I didn't forward it to anyone. I called the catering lead directly and asked a boring question as if I were just being thorough. "If one partner can't make the tasting, can the guest make decisions?" I asked. She answered casually, "If the contract is signed, yes, we just need one authorized contact." I thanked her and hung up with a clean picture.
Her +1 was not accidental. It had a role. The second layer was me consulting a lawyer, not to file something dramatic, to get a checklist. I sat across from a woman who'd seen this movie too many times and asked plain questions: account separation, lease exposure, how to document without becoming the villain, what to do if someone tries to frame you as controlling. She didn't give me a speech. She gave me a sequence. "Keep it calm, keep it clean, don't fight in writing," she said. "And if you think she'll spin you, document first and speak later." On the way out, my phone buzzed. My friend Owen. He and I had been close since college. He knew the wedding timeline. He knew the version of my life I'd been building. "Hey," he said, "are you okay? She said you've been weird about money." There it was, the framing attempt. I could have unloaded. I could have told him everything. I could have tried to recruit him. Instead, I said, "I'm fine. I'm just tightening logistics." He pushed. "Man, don't shut me out. If something's going on." "I'm not shutting you out," I replied. "I'm staying disciplined." He didn't like it, but he heard it. I saved the call log anyway, not because Owen was a threat, but because it showed her narrative was already moving. I saved the call log anyway, not because Owen was a threat, but because it showed her narrative was already moving. That night, my phone pinged, an alert. A login attempt on the vendor portal from a device that wasn't mine. Then another alert, a transfer attempt from the joint account. It failed. That was the difference between panic and preparation. The system told me before she could act. I didn't text her, "Nice try." I made a note. I adjusted passwords. I confirmed 2-factor authentication. I intercepted a registry delivery the next day, an expensive appliance scheduled to arrive early. I rerouted it back to the distributor with a single phone call, using my order number and calm voice, telling them delivery needed to be paused. The goal wasn't to win. It was to prevent a sunk cost avalanche and keep my home from turning into a storage unit of reminders. Then came my own strategic lie. She asked why the venue coordinator was suddenly copying me on everything and not her. I told her the bank flagged a verification issue. They want one primary contact on the payments until it clears. It wasn't true, but it bought time. The problem with a lie, even a protective one, is that it creates a second system you have to manage. 2 days later, she called the bank. I didn't need to guess. I could see it in her face when she came home that night, half anger, half fear. "They said there's no verification issue," she snapped. I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. I let silence sit long enough for her to make her uncomfortable. Then I said, "I didn't give you the full reason." Her eyes widened. "Why?" I replied. because I'm waiting to see if you're going to tell the truth." She stared at me, jaw tightening, then defaulted to the line liars use when they need time. "I don't know what you're talking about." I nodded once. "Okay." That was my second turning point. I could have dropped everything on the table. I could have thrown evidence like knives, but I refused to be dragged into an emotional trial where I'd be painted unstable. Instead, I moved to confirmation. The next day, I went to the venue, not at noon when she said she'd be there, earlier, 30 minutes early. I parked across the street and waited. I wasn't there to take photos like a desperate man. I was there to identify the missing piece. At exactly 12, she walked in, wearing a dress I'd never seen, hair done like she was attending something more than a tasting. A man followed her, tall, confident, no tie, moving like he belonged. They didn't touch. They didn't need to. They moved like a pair. They stayed inside almost an hour. When they came out, they laughed at something private and walked toward the far lot. I wrote down his car color, his plate. Then I left. At home, I used public info and patience, plate verification through a parking validation tool, corporate profiles, charity event photos, the kinds of footprints people leave when they like being admired. I found him. Different name than I expected, higher profile, married, 2 kids. The family photos were bright and staged and painfully normal. He had a reputation that would not survive being dragged into this. I didn't smile. I just recognized leverage when I saw it. But I still didn't go straight to his wife. Not yet. I wanted the map clean before I moved the next piece. Meanwhile, my fiancée shaped the story. She told people I was cold, that I was obsessed with money, that I was controlling. Owen texted again. "She's upset, says you're threatening to cancel the wedding." I replied with one sentence. "I'm handling logistics. I won't discuss personal details." And I saved the screenshot. Because when someone tries to paint you as unstable before the truth surfaces, it's strategy, not emotion. Then I sent the message to his wife. Not dramatic, no cruel. Dates, locations, the venue tasting, the hotel address the receipts showed, a simple line. "This isn't rumor. Verify however you need." Burner email. No signature. No threats. Then I closed the tab and didn't refresh like a man hoping for fireworks. 2 days passed, and my fiancée became strangely sweet. She brought home my favorite takeout. She suggested a walk. She touched my arm in the kitchen like she was checking if I still belonged to her. People don't suddenly become affectionate when everything's fine. They do it when the floor starts moving. The reply came on the 4th day. I confirmed it. 3 words. No drama, no requests. And that's where the story could have ended cleanly. Quiet breakup, clean exit, no spectacle. But you told me to include a scene that doesn't get skipped, the collision moment, the moment the lies stop being private. So here's the set piece that changed the temperature of everything. I didn't arrange it, I didn't orchestrate it. I just knew where to be, and I knew not to step in. That Friday evening, she texted she'd be late again, client thing. I didn't respond. I drove to the hotel that kept showing up in the receipts and parked across the street, half hidden behind a delivery van. My car heater was low. The windshield had that faint fog at the edges. I sat with my hands on the wheel, steady, watching the entrance like a man watching a business deal turn. At exactly 7:08 p.m., her car pulled up. He was in the passenger seat, not even trying to be subtle. They walked in side by side. She adjusted her hair in the reflection of the glass door like it mattered. I didn't move. 5 minutes later, another car pulled in. A woman got out, mid-30s, sharp coat, posture like she'd already decided what she was going to do and wasn't afraid of the room. I recognized her from the charity photos, the wife. She didn't go to the front desk. She walked straight to the bar area you could see through the lobby windows. She found them fast, like she'd been tracking a pattern, too. I couldn't hear the first words, but I didn't need to. You can read tone in body language. Her hand moved and she slapped something down on the bar.
papers, printouts, something rectangular and final. The man shifted back. My fiancée froze, her hand hovering near her drink like she'd forgotten how hands worked. The wife's voice rose, not screaming, controlled, precise, the kind of volume meant for witnesses. People turned. A bartender paused mid-pour. A couple at a high top stopped pretending not to listen. The man tried to guide her aside, one palm out like he could manage her like he managed everything else. She didn't move. She pointed at him, then pointed at my fiancé. Then she said the one sentence that made the whole lobby go still. She said my fiancé's full name, loud, enough that a few heads snapped in synchrony. "You don't get to step into my life and call it complicated," she said. "You don't get to hide behind work trips and late meetings while you ruin a family." My fiancé tried to speak. It came out like air. The wife held up her phone, screen facing them, then turned it toward him, not her, like, "Look what you did." He looked trapped for the first time. Then the wife leaned closer, voice lower now, but still cutting, still audible in that hush. "I'm filing Monday, and you're going to explain this to our kids." That last word, kids, landed like a dropped glass. My fiancé's face tightened, and for the first time I saw something real, not remorse, fear, not of hurting someone, of being seen. The wife picked up her papers, slid them into her bag, and walked out without looking back. She didn't cry, she didn't beg, she didn't bargain. She just left, and the room filled back up with sound, like everyone had been holding their breath. My fiancé sat rigid. The man leaned in, talking fast, trying to patch the hole in the boat while it was already taking on water. I stayed in my car, because I wasn't there to be part of a scene. I was there to confirm that the lie had consequences outside my living room. That moment didn't just validate the pattern, it detonated reputation. And when reputation detonates, you don't negotiate, you accelerate. I drove home, and instead of pacing, or drinking, or texting angry paragraphs, I opened my laptop and finished the dismantle.
Final cancellations to the remaining vendors, formal letters, refund requests, credits moved into my name wherever possible, written confirmations filed. I didn't do it out of spite. I did it because the story was about to spread, and I refused to be caught paying for a wedding that no longer existed in reality. She came home around 9:40, makeup streaked, eyes hot with anger, not apology. "You won't believe what happened," she started. "I already know," I said, calm. Her face went stiff. "You don't know anything," she snapped. I set a thin folder on the counter, clean, organized. "I know enough," I replied. She looked at it like it could bite. "Are you spying?" she demanded. "No," I said, "I'm paying attention." She tried to pick a fight, raise her voice, bait me into being the villain in a story she could sell to friends. "You're ruining everything," she hissed. I held her gaze. "You did that when you decided I didn't deserve the truth." She went quiet for half a second, then switched tactics, tears. I was confused. Confused people don't schedule tomorrow texts. Confused people don't bring a +1 to a tasting. So I stayed steady. "This ends tonight," I said. Her mouth opened. "You can't just—" "I can," I replied. "My name is on the contracts. My lease is on this apartment. My money is tied to the deposits. I'm not marrying someone who's actively undermining my life." She looked around like she expected backup to appear from the walls. "What about the wedding?" she asked, panic slipping through. "It's done," I said. "Canceled." Her face drained of color. "No, you can't—" "I already did," I said, and I didn't raise my voice. "Quietly, over days, while you were managing your second life." That was my third turning point, the moment I could have softened, could have let nostalgia bargain for my boundaries. I didn't. Nostalgia doesn't protect your finances. It doesn't protect your name. It doesn't protect your future.
She reached for her phone like she needed an audience. I didn't try to stop her. I said, "Call whoever you want, but you're not staying here tonight." She froze. "This is my home, too." "It's my lease," I said, "and I'm not risking a volatile night where you later decide to tell a different story." She stared at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. I packed essentials, documents, laptop, the drive, a week of clothes. I took quick photos of the apartment condition, not for drama, for protection. Then I left. I stayed at my brother's place that night, lights off, staring at the ceiling, feeling the delayed weight hit my chest in waves. People think calm means you don't feel anything. It doesn't. It means you refuse to let feelings steer the actions that can destroy you. The next morning, my phone was full. Her mother, her brother, mutual friends with cautious questions. Owen again, asking what happened at the hotel, because yes, word moved fast. I sent one line to everyone. "The wedding is canceled. I won't discuss details." No arguments, no paragraphs, no performance. Then I made the administrative moves that turn ending into real. I got written confirmation from the venue that the date was released. I finalized the catering cancellation. I confirmed the band's date removal. I changed passwords on every shared account. I deleted the wedding website. I removed the guest list from any shared folders. Not to punish, to end access. Her mother called again. "Can't we at least talk about postponing?" she asked, voice tight with embarrassment. "No," I said, "there's nothing to postpone." A long silence, then quieter. "Did she really?" I didn't answer with details. The truth was already doing its own work. That week, she tried to reverse it. She called the florist and showed up in person, demanding her bouquet order. The florist emailed me confused because the contract holder was me. They refused to reinstate without my approval. She tried to rebook the photographer using our credit. The photographer declined and confirmed in writing the credit was attached to my name only. She tried to revive the venue date. The venue manager told her the date had been rebooked. Each attempt slammed into a wall I'd built quietly, on purpose. I never gloated. I didn't need to. Owen tried again to pull me into a tell-your-side moment. "Dude, people are talking. If you don't say anything, it looks like—" "I'm not auditioning," I told him. "People can believe whatever they want. I'm not feeding it." He went quiet, then softer. "I'm sorry." I said thanks and ended the call. I met the affair partner once. Not at his job, not in a parking lot fight, not a threat. A controlled meeting. I texted from a number he didn't recognize and offered a neutral place, public, midday, cameras, witnesses, no alcohol, no corners. He showed up looking like a man who just learned what consequences feel like. I didn't insult him. I didn't raise my voice. I said one sentence, calm and final. "Stay out of my life and don't contact her here again." He tried to speak, excuses, explanations, something about complicated. I cut it off with my hand, not aggressive, just firm. Complicated is what you call it when you want permission. This is finished. Then I stood up and left first. After that, I did the quiet montage work that nobody thinks about until they have to do it. Mail forwarding, lease removal paperwork, utility transfers, account closures, vendor confirmations filed, a final budget sheet showing what was refunded, what was credited, what was sunk. I sent her one email with the final accounting attached and one sentence. "This is the final financial summary. I won't be discussing this further." Weeks later, her last message wasn't apology. It was blame. "You destroyed my life over one mistake." That line told me everything I needed to know, because the real problem was never one message. It was the decision to keep taking my trust, my money, my future, while hiding the truth like I wasn't entitled to informed consent in my own life. That's why they call it deceit. It's not just heartbreak, it's action. It's moves made against you while you're still playing fair. If you confront too soon, you become the story, the angry fiancé, the jealous guy, the one who overreacted. If you stay calm, document, and move deliberately, the truth becomes the story. And the truth doesn't need your volume to land. It lands on its own. I didn't humiliate her online. I didn't chase him into public. I didn't try to ruin anyone. I simply removed the support beams from a life she assumed would hold her no matter what she did. I protected my finances. I protected my name. I protected my future. And I walked away with my peace intact. That isn't coldness. That's self-respect with a plan.